From there, we get this. I got to think this is done by the exact same people who did Jon Moxley's jail promo last week, because it shot very cool. He's staring in a mirror. This is after the Darby Allin I Quit match. And I honestly feel like Jon Moxley is such a test of whether you know ball or not. And I know that that's such a arrogant, strong-willed thing to say, but I don't know how many performers are putting as much effort into their character and what their character would do as Jon Moxley. Because here, he puts over Darby initially. He says, Darby, it was your strength. That was the deciding factor on Saturday. That's why you won. Your unrelenting dedication to self-destruction was your strength. But for me, the sun still comes up tomorrow. Then he goes on to explain how he's still going to demand perfection and get more Jon Moxleys. But then he starts to crack.
Yeah.
He starts to no longer deliver the promo, and he's almost doing like a self-talk. Like he's no longer the unbreakable, strong-willed bully. He's a guy trying to talk himself into the door before he has to go out there and be Johnny Cash. And I thought that this, and then where the episode goes from here, I've written in my notes here, I think Mox loses soon. Now, I'm not going to pat myself on the back and say, oh, I thought he was going to lose to Kyle O'Reilly tonight. But I thought that this was him cracking was a symbol, a very clear signal of this guy is going. So I just appreciate somebody who's, I think Hangman does this, Swerve, I don't even know what Swerve does, but I love when people have these evolving characters, and he's still Death Rider's leader, Jon Moxley, but it's like my favorite TV shows, the Leftovers or Arrested Development, where you're rewarded for paying attention. Like this guy's like, okay, I'm going to perform for the people who are paying attention to this stuff and give them something to chew on. So I thought this was fantastically shot. It's not easy to perform. Like if you put me in front of a camera, no matter what Zub said about my acting abilities, I wouldn't feel very comfortable delivering something. Okay, I have to be as hard, tough, very believably tough, and then seem like, oh, I'm actually much weaker than I'm appearing. Like that's actual acting. So I give Jon Moxley a lot of credit, not only for the choices he makes creatively, but also for his performance in this segment.
And you don't know how much authenticity is in that performance. You don't know how method it is. I mean, if you are comfortable with yourself and understand your weaknesses or your insecurities, and you can help turn that into a performance, like that just makes it stand out that much further. And I loved that promo, because I'm somebody that watches the product every week and the pay-per-view and the pay-per-views, and sometimes I find what the Death Riders are doing could be a little confusing, and not that it's a complicated storyline. It's sometimes it's just, why are they doing this again? And they leave a lot to the imagination. And just hearing him talk about like, nobody in wrestling can touch us. We're the best. We put the effort in, like just that little thing that really hooked me. I bought into what they were doing, what their approach to this whole Death Riders thing is. And it's just like this insecure confidence. And I love, we saw it in the fallout of the Darby Allin matches, but like, you know, in the I Quit match, Mox is breaking and he's like, I thought, you know, just quit already. They don't care about you. I do. And I'm fucking you up. Please just quit. Like he's breaking. And then the great line in that promo was like, he believed in you, so you made me a liar. Like, whoa, that was a great, just a great window into where Jon Moxley is as a character right now. And it sucks that we're going to, every week it's, what is Jon Moxley doing? That is the best thing on the show.
Yeah, he's definitely the MVP many weeks. I'll shout out Bobby Burritos here, who planted this idea in my head maybe, I don't know, a year and a half ago. But AEW at some point needs to return to the exploding barbed wire death match and make good on the failure that it was last time. And if they're going to return to Jon Moxley and Darby Allin, I don't know if this is going to be an immediate return, but I cannot think of two better guys to return to the exploding barbed wire death match with than the ultimate blow off to Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. Now, that said, I'd be worried about how far Darby Allin would want them to go with real explosives, but beyond that,
Can you blow off?
The guys do it with.
blow off just a part of my leg. Like, you know,
Yeah,
it'll grow.
exactly. I need to survive. Okay, dude.
Okay,
And
bud.
then Jon Moxley is entering the arena, and Marina Shafir almost has like fire him up. She's slapping him in the face, Jason and Clay Guida style. It's basically just for Marlon, I imagine. And you can see he's like has this shaken foundation, and that leads him headlong into a match against Kyle O'Reilly, a guy who Jon Moxley has beaten in the past. And given where the hierarchy of AEW as we know it should be, not no problem for Jon Moxley to beat, but certainly an assured victory for Jon Moxley. It is not. It's very, I thought, so sometimes on the show we'll say, oh, there never used to be wrestling like this on TV. And we are describing something like Kenny Omega versus Vikingo, or, you know, pick your Lucha Brothers versus Young
Sure.
Bucks best of 7 series, whatever. But it is also true that there didn't used to be this type of wrestling on TV, which is to say something more UWFI or Bloodsport or Pancrase or MMA adjacent. It was still very pro wrestling for the record.
Yeah.
This isn't quite as bone dry as those ones, but more spiritually aligned with that. You sort of got it in the Kurt Angle Samoa Joe series in TNA, especially when they did their lockdown match. But generally speaking, this is not a style of wrestling that is on television. The beginning of this match is basically they're emulating a Muay Thai match, like trying to get the better of one another's Muay Thai plumes. They both exchange overhooks over and over. They manage to get in inside leg kicks and knees to the body when they are in the power position. But they continue to switch in and out of that. Then it becomes like a low kick sort of Tai Chi versus Kota Ibushi kickboxing match. And this is where you can see Mox starts to like back up off of strikes, which you never see. Kyle O'Reilly starts to sting him. And Mox, I don't know if he like went so far as looking nervous, but was selling on smaller shots and was being backed up by Kyle O'Reilly's strikes. From there, Kyle O'Reilly pounces onto a front face guillotine in full guard standings, like this huge like leaps on him, like just on the attack, like this gained confidence from Kyle O'Reilly. They're really telling this not complicated, but hyper effective in continuance with the promo that you just saw, that Kyle O'Reilly, a guy that shouldn't really be hanging in there with Mox, is not only hanging in with Mox, is getting the better with him. Jon Moxley gets this completely across and really sends it home, Ryan, by giving us the rare Dynamite DQ, grabbing the ref and forearming him in the face to bring the match to an end because he does not want to tap to the continued assaults of Kyle O'Reilly. I love everything about this. I thought this was the easy highlight of the show. I know that Jon Moxley is in charge of a lot of his own creative. This makes me think he has a great wrestling brain. I just thought that this had a clear story being told that lends credibility to a guy that I like, and just shows that if you have to have a guy leading your locker room, Jon Moxley is a selfless one that is willing to go out there and take a quote unquote loss. And credit to MJF, he did this for Lee Johnson as well, giving a DQ loss on TV. The credit where it's due. But I just thought that, like, I know that I had said, oh, he's going to lose soon, but I didn't see it coming until the match started to pick up and trend in his direction, in Kyle O'Reilly's direction. But they really managed to get across this messaging of Jon Moxley can lose and is on the downslide, and maybe the Death Riders are going to lose belief in him super effectively. So I loved this match, not only for performance, but for its effectiveness in terms of the stories that we're telling. And just sort of, you know, people say storytelling in a wrestling match or psychology in a wrestling match, and that can be sort of a cover that means a lot of different things.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that it can be really directly applied here, where they said and performed one thing in a promo, and then using body language and physicality continued that in the ring, that then had a result that matched what had played out in your eyes, and sort of this swell of offense for Kyle O'Reilly, and the bully finally getting pushed back on after quitting, especially on Saturday, made him want out again. And this might have planted a bug in Jon Moxley's mind. And I just think all that is actual storytelling that is even an oaf like me can understand and interpret. And it's just another example of why Jon Moxley's operating on such a high level. I loved it.
How often do we get that style and level of continuity in wrestling across all platforms, where you'll see an amazing performance in a promo or an interview backstage or tape piece, and then you see that same performer in a match in the ring, and it just seems like they are normal, everyday wrestler. And yeah, they're a little stressed out about a program or an opponent, but they leave it at the curtain. They go out and it's all business, and then afterwards, that program continues. I love in the match that, like you said, it started out with the kind of the MMA approach. Mox doesn't have that level of confidence because he tapped out, so everything begins to kind of shift and break down, and he resorts to his Healy, his kind of sadistic tactics. He's stomping on the hand in the picture in picture during the break on the ring steps, and then he's realizing he's not physically, he's still probably as good as he always has been, but mentally and emotionally he's not there, and he's got to find more and more easy way outs. So I love the idea of punching the ref out. I hate that when I watch wrestling, I'm just like so glad and applauding that it makes sense. But like God, it made sense. It was the right move, and it just continues telling the story. And if he goes into another match with Darby, like he's just going to spiral more and more. One thing I wanted to say, I was watching during this match, I was like, oh man, Kyle O'Reilly's got to face Mox. Like I'm kind of thinking like, within, suspension of disbelief. I'm like, oh, what's he going to do to that guy? I'd hate to be that guy. And it reminded me of like as a kid when Kane would come out, I'd be like, oh my God, I wouldn't want to be in the ring with that guy. Or then a little bit older when New Jack would, oh my God, this poor bastard's got to have a match with New Jack. Like to be at this age and this, jaded in some way and be like, oh shit, Mox, he's got a match with Mox. Look out. I don't want to see what happened to that guy. Like it's just so fun to buy in and fully believe in a character and be invested. And it's Mox. And we'll just continue saying great things about Mox.
Yeah, he's great. That continuance of character, I think Steve Austin comes to mind. There's people who really have it in spades, but he does for sure. Hey, thanks for checking out that video. Next step, hit follow down below. Step after that, head over to twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain. We're live every Monday and Wednesday and on pay-per-view weeks, or just when we feel like talking about wrestling. It's many more shows than that. You can hit follow over there to be alerted every time we go live. If you need even more, patreon.com/J0SHC has a free tier and a paid tier. Check those out and see if any suit you fine. We'll see you then, and like Hiroshi Tanahashi says, love and energy.